You already know what to do. That's not me being motivational. That's the problem. You know what to eat. You know you should move. You know how to make more money. You know the conversation you keep not having. You know the thing you're avoiding is the exact thing that would change everything. You have never had an information problem, not once, not for a single day of your adult life. And you're still here, still watching, still looking for the video that's finally going to make you act. That's not a discipline failure. That's not a weakness. That is a fundamental misunderstanding of where behavior actually lives in your brain. And once you see it, the last 5 years of knowing exactly what to do and barely moving will finally make sense. Here's what the entire self-improvement industry will never tell you directly, because their business model depends on you not hearing it. Information does not change behavior, not once, not in any human being who has ever lived. And there's a reason for that, so simple, it should be illegal to charge money without explaining it first. Your brain has two completely separate systems for knowing and doing, and they barely talk to each other. The knowing system is your cortex, the outer layer, the part active right now, processing these words. It handles language, logic, frameworks, analysis. It's fast, it's powerful, and it has almost zero authority over what you actually do. The doing system lives below that. Subcortical, older. It doesn't process language. It doesn't understand your frameworks. It doesn't care what you read last Tuesday. It runs on pattern recognition, emotional memory, and repetition. And it is the system running your behavior when the alarm goes off, when the pressure hits, when the decision point arrives and you have half a second to act or retreat. When you read a book about confidence, the cortex gets it. When the moment arrives to actually be confident, the subcortical system runs the show, and it doesn't check with the cortex first. It runs the pattern with the most evidence behind it, which is whatever you've been doing for years. This is why you can understand your problem with perfect clarity and execute the exact same pattern anyway. The understanding and the execution live in different buildings. There is no hallway between them. Think about driving. When you first learned, every movement was conscious, deliberate, exhausting. Check the mirror, signal, hands at 10 and 2. Now you drive while holding a conversation, eating, completely zoned out. You're not driving anymore. A deeper system is. Because the behavior transferred from cortical to subcortical through one mechanism and one mechanism only. You did it, repeatedly, until it encoded below conscious thought. Not because you read a better driving manual, because you drove. Every behavior you've ever made automatic followed that same path. And here's the thing that should stop you completely. The behaviors keeping you stuck followed the exact same path. The way you discount before anyone asks. The way things start going well and you find a way to pull back. The way you explain yourself in rooms where nobody asked for an explanation. Those aren't choices you're making in real time. Those are subcortical programs that encoded years ago running on autopilot. You cannot think your way out of a program that runs below thought. So what actually changes it? 3 things. None of them are information. Repetition. Your subcortical system updates the same way it was built, through repeated exposure at the same trigger point. Not one breakthrough, not one powerful realization. Dozens of data points. The same corrective behavior executed where the old pattern normally fires until the deeper system starts logging it as the new default. Emotional salience. Your subcortical system doesn't process logic, it processes feeling. Behavior change that happens in a high emotion state encodes faster than anything that happens in calm, rational analysis. This is why people sometimes change overnight after hitting a real bottom. The emotional intensity burned through the old pattern in a single exposure. You don't need to manufacture crisis. Structured exposure at the right intensity does the same thing without the catastrophe. Environmental restructuring. Your patterns don't fire in a vacuum. They fire on cues. The room where you always procrastinate, the person around whom you always shrink, the time of day, the avoidance kicks in. Those aren't neutral. Those are triggers your subcortical system has been responding to for years. Change the cue and you interrupt the chain before the pattern even fires. Repetition, emotional salience, environmental restructuring. That's the entire list of things that change behavior at the level behavior actually operates. Information is not on the list. Now here's the part that's going to sting. Count the books you've read in the last 2 years, the videos, the frameworks saved, the screenshots sitting in your camera roll you've never looked at again. You have been feeding the wrong system. Every hour spent consuming information about how to change, your cortex got smarter. Your subcortical patterns stayed identical. You got better at understanding the problem, 0% better at not executing it. And then it gets worse. The consuming became the pattern. Searching for the next insight that will finally make you act is now an encoded subcortical behavior. It feels like progress. It feels like you're working on it. But it is the most sophisticated avoidance your nervous system has ever built, because it lets you feel like you're moving while guaranteeing the system underneath never gets touched. You didn't avoid changing. You found a way to feel like you were changing while the architecture stayed exactly the same. And every time you consumed something and didn't act differently the next day, your subcortical system filed it. Information doesn't lead to action for this person. That is now part of the model, which means the next video, the next book, the next framework has even less power than the last one. The gap between who you are and who you keep almost becoming was never informational. It's architectural. You don't need to know more. You've known enough for years. What you need is something that operates at the level the pattern actually lives. Not your logic, not your understanding, not your cortex. The system underneath that runs your behavior, whether you agree with it or not. That system doesn't respond to one more video. It responds to structured repetition at the exact point where your pattern normally fires. The same trigger, met with a different response, enough times that the old program gets overwritten. That's not information, that's installation. The distance between those two words is the distance between where you are and where you keep almost getting to. You already know what to do. Now you know why knowing was never enough. The installation is in my bio.